Hi everyone, I am Morten, Senior Support Consultant with the Customer Experience team. Welcome to the release notes for ClickLearn Attain version 12.1.57.0. Based on your valuable feedback, we've introduced some new features, enhancements, and bug fixes to your ClickLearn experience to make it even more relatable, reliable, and seamless. Here are some highlights of the new and improved features in this release. So, we have some connector and project enhancements. So some of the behind the scenes magic is that we've added support for BC 25 and 26 in the Attain Studio connector list, so your integrations options can keep on growing. These are the new waves of Business Central, so they will now be supported. For recording improvements, recording has just become a lot smoother. We have fixed the navigation in the video. We had an issue where if you used the video navigator to skip to a subsection, it will go to the next main section instead. So that was a bug. It's been fixed, so you can now navigate to subsections. Then we had an issue where when you're previewing a recording in ClickLearn, when you clicked on the Word document, you would get file not found. Basically it wasn't downloaded correctly, so that's now been fixed. Then we have some better group navigation. So basically when your group titles in your video, they will now be narrated even if the sections above them hadn't been excluded. We had an issue where the group titles wouldn't be narrated, so that's been fixed. In the recording editor, we've added a retry mechanism. So basically if a failure occurs, well, when it says file not saved or file save failed, something like that, a dialog will pop up and it will ask you to retry. So that's been made to ensure that your recordings are saved properly to avoid you losing your work. When you're running an on-premise version of ClickLearn in a local environment, we had an issue where assets wouldn't be updated when you move them around. Basically, that means that if you go into your asset folder of ClickLearn itself, take an asset, move it to a subfolder, then the recordings will be like, hey, where's my asset? And that's now fixed, so it auto-updates the recordings. For localization upgrades, we know that they can be complex, and we have now made sure that the localization screen always says expanded, so you won't lose your context. We had an issue where when you were localizing assets specifically, the screen would minimize. That's been fixed. And then we also had an issue where impatient people might accidentally trigger multiple translation screens at once, but they click on clicking, it would keep on popping up with a new translation layer every time. And this caused, of course, all kinds of issues, right? Because like which translation layer was now the accurate one, and yeah, it was just a mess. So it's been fixed. There's only one now. We've added something for the structure. For structure simplification. So basically we don't automatically add HTTPS if it's not explicitly provided when you add a hyperlink. And basically what that means is that you can now use other code in your hyperlink. Let me just show you what that means. So down here I have a hyperlink. And what I can then do is, for example, in my hyperlink, I've added Microsoft-Edge and then my hyperlink. Before, when I added anything in here, it would add HTTPS first, but that's now been fixed, so you can add whatever you want. This would force it to open Edge, for example. You can also use the mail to in front, so it will open your default mail client and start on your email, for example. So you can use all this cool functionality now. For settings and publishing, in the publishing template, you can now set the transition time for show me videos to just 1 second, which will ensure that when you have a section, normally you have the section popping up and then it transitions to the next part of your work instruction. That can now go extremely fast if you want. Apart from being able to change if it fades or if it just quickly switches or whatever, you can now also adjust the time that it uses to do that. So it's very fast. We've recently added a setting that will lower the preview quality, which is very nice because loading previews in ClickLearn goes much faster. But we had an issue where it would convert all PNG files to JPEG, so it would mess up stuff like your logos, PNG logos, and your cursor transparency if you had like a custom cursor in your videos. So that's been fixed. Anything PNG from the template would not be affected now. And then we have a new option in your SCORM template settings where you can include the XSD definitions right inside your SCORM manifest. Basically, this is just a toggle in the template settings. So you come into your publishing template and you go down to SCORM. And now we have a new setting down here called Embed Definition Files. By default, inside of the manifest file, it refers to a few different websites that carry the XSD definitions. But some companies would like for these to be embedded into the package, so the package doesn't need to go out and grab files externally. Some people want that, but also there are some systems that do not support this. They do not support embedding of the files. Or some systems do not allow for external files. So now we have both options, right? So depending on which system you have and what you want to do, you can now use this setting. I would consult your LMS specialist for more information about this. So yeah, it's very depending on your SCORM system and your company policy. On the dashboard, we fixed an issue where the user account appeared on the dashboard, but you couldn't click it, like it didn't show the actual user list. That's now fixed. And then the recording names and OData, that's now also displayed. It's now fixed and displayed correctly in your OData. And then you're creating on time, there was a conflict here. When you had like multiple languages, you would see multiple timestamps and it was a little bit confusing for people. That's now been fixed. Moving on to published content. When you're inside a segment of a portal that you have published in a structure, when you click next, on the navigator, it would sometimes jump to a recording that's not part of your segment. So basically, it would show you something you're not allowed to see according to your author who has segmented the content, right? Basically, what that means is if you have a recording here, say this was part of my sales segment. When I then click on the next recording over here, it would then display one that is also part of the segment that I'm allowed to see and not something that I'm not allowed to see, right? So you can navigate back and forth recordings out here, and then segmentation part has been fixed. Also, we had an issue where if you used a backslash in your recording text, when you had the assist config going, they would cause an issue. So basically, if you had a node that had a backslash in it, the assist would mess up. That's also been fixed now. Now, for you APT lovers out there, I know there's a lot of you, logs have now been improved to be more clear in case of failures. So instead of saying like error 5 and error -1, you would actually get a descriptive error of what the problem was. And then we had an issue where all the tests would fail after the first run. So like you had a test with a series of recordings running in tandem. After the first one was run, it would just fail and give you an error that honestly looked Korean. It was like IOO. That's now been fixed. Then we have updates to the IFS scope. So re-importing the scope would duplicate some questions in some cases. That's now been fixed, so you will not have any duplication. Then we had an issue where in the UXP, the videos wouldn't play when the project had a dot in it. That's also been fixed. And then the roles in IFS for the user adoption center did not respect the configured segmentation. That's now also been right. So if you're segmented your content based on user roles in IFS, the user adoption center will now respect that and show you the correct stuff. But yeah, I hope you will enjoy this new release of ClickLearn. And as always, you have a wonderful day. Thank you.